Good afternoon. Welcome to Kansas City Council Committee of the Whole for Tuesday, April 21, 2026. First up, we have roll call. Kim, may we have roll call, please?
Thank you. Council President Kaur.
Here.
Councilmember Boyce.
Here.
Councilmember Boyd.
Here.
Councilmember Larmer.
Here.
Councilmember Michaud.
Here.
Councilmember Shoker.
Here.
Councilmember Troutner.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Next up, agenda approvals. Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, may I have a motion, please?
So move, Madam President.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up, approval of minutes for April 7, 2026. May I have a motion, please?
So move.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. Next, we have payment of bills, and we get those in our emails. Hopefully, we have the chance to review those. So if I can have a motion, please.
So move.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have Economic and Community Development. Councilmember Larmer.
Thank you, Council President. So we have our comprehensive plan amendment requests, our annual docket, and we'll have Kristen Holdsworth present us.
Good evening, Council. I am here. Deja Mitchell is the staff member in charge of this. She is on a well-deserved family vacation, so I am here representing, but you'll hear from her for the rest of this project. Tonight I'm presenting on our annual docketing process. As you may recall, we just updated the comprehensive plan through the 10-year periodic update process in 2024. The state has 3 different ways that we can update the comprehensive plan. One is that every 10-year process, and that really is meant for larger substantive changes, reassessing big policy direction. We completed that. In the interim, they understand that things may change. There may be different new information emerging or projects completed. And so we have an annual process. There's a couple reasons when we would update outside of that annual process, such as budget reasons. But generally, the goal is that we update the comprehensive plan in minor ways in those interim years. So if it's not a periodic update. And then most recently, this one's new, we had to update our slides for this. There's a 5-year mid-cycle progress report that will be in 2029. We haven't done this before. We don't know what it would look like or will look like. We're waiting to hear back from Commerce on it. And I know King County is wanting to add something in addition as well. And so we are tracking that, but we anticipate that that may include a little bit more of a substantive update as well. So what we're coming to you with today is the annual docket, or the annual process for updating the comprehensive plan. A little bit of background on this. Our King County Code establishes the process for it. Amendments to the comprehensive plan can be suggested from and applied for from the public, as well as from our own city departments. We've not received any the last couple of years from either group. One is because we were doing the 2024 plan, and then the plan was so new, we didn't really have in 2025 anything to tweak or modify. This year, we do have 3 amendments. They're all staff originated, and we'll get into them. They're relatively minor. And again, there's a very laid out criteria or standard of review that staff have in order to bring them to you all for consideration. And so the first is essentially the do no harm of planning, of making sure that there's not adverse impacts that haven't been studied more broadly, making sure that it's a result of new information that wasn't available. We have one of those that is on the board tonight, and then, or on the slate tonight, and then making sure that it results in long-term benefits, essentially saying we don't want to do onesie, twosie spot rezones. The time for all of that conversation is really during a 10-year process when we're looking community-wide. It's not intended to significantly deviate from that process for the underlying future land use, and then making sure that what we're proposing is consistent with the rest of the comprehensive plan. So amendment proposals from the public are due, text override, are due by September 1st every year. As I mentioned, we didn't have any proposals from the public this last year. We did have 3 from staff departments, 2 from ECD and 1 from Public Works. We are in the info-only sessions right now of bringing this to you, and we anticipate that this amendment will go forward for a vote with the downtown plan update, which will be coming to you this summer. So because the downtown plan technically counts as an element or a piece of the comprehensive plan, when we update the comprehensive plan for the downtown, all of the other amendments need to go together. So this will be timed in accordance going forward. When you get any action items, they will all be together as one at one meeting. So we are in the info only stage. We'll be moving on to hearing and briefing recommendations from Land Use and Planning Board, and then on for our typical adoption process. So we have 3 items this year. One is really more of just a oversight by staff and consultants as we were finalizing the comprehensive plan to our land use map. There's some inconsistencies in it that somehow our layers got mishmashed, and so we'll talk about that. It really isn't a policy change at all. The second is updating our future land use designations, and this is to reflect what we've been doing with Recode Kent and the zoning consolidations and renaming of our zones. And so that would be because new things have emerged. We didn't know what we were going to call our zones beforehand, and so now that we know our new zone names, we will update them in our plan. And then the last is a functional roadway classification. Now that 509 is complete and we have the connections on the West Hill, reclassifying a portion of Veterans Drive is something that Public Works has put forward. So I'll go through these quickly. This one is the oops, I don't know how we did this. We had 50 different staff people look at this plan before it was adopted, and for some reason our land use map should look like the one on the right with more bluish gray, just 2 areas. Somehow we inserted the zoning layer for this part of the industrial valley only, when it should have been the land use layer. So it's not a substantive policy change. We actually didn't change any of those designations in the comp plan. For some reason, we just had some layer issues. And so it's just this map is adopted in the comprehensive plan as the city's official land use map. And so it's making sure that that shows the right land use zones. The second one is changing these naming designations. So we have something that we call the implementation table, and this is where we tie the land use designations, so commercial, agricultural, urban separator, into what our zoning, implementing zoning map designations are. And it's not always a one-to-one relationship, but it says if your underlying land use planning for 20 years is this designation, then these are the appropriate zones and development standards to implement that. So we're not substantively changing this table, but because we did change the name, so the old zones had the SR labels and the MRTs and MR designations, and now we have consolidated them and renamed them. We basically need to go back to this table, and anytime we see SR1, just do the equivalent for what the new zone name is. So again, this is not a substantive policy change. You all laid the course of what the land use and zoning should be. It's just when we adopted Recode Kent and we did the first phase of middle housing, that we would need to go back and make sure that the land use and zoning table would be up to date with the name transitions. And then the last one is Veterans Drive. So Public Works has been doing analysis and proposing that the functional roadway classification be amended from a minor arterial to a principal arterial along this stretch of Veterans Drive. So really from I-5 area down to West Valley Highway, 68th Avenue would be that area. And part of that is, I think it's twofold. One is that the roadway now connects directly to I-5 and has the 509 overlay, and then or connection, and then also because of the development that's been going on in that area as well. And so they did look further east of that roadway. It becomes I can't think of the name right now. I will say, is it G? Okay. 228th is what I want to say, but I could be wrong. The rest of 228th, I am right. I had it in my notes. 228th east of West Valley Highway, that area they're not proposing to change. So it's just this area leading up the hill. And we did adopt, as a reminder, we updated the local the functional classifications of the roadways through the comprehensive plan to be in better alignment with federal and state designations. And so this is now saying there was a change of conditions. These roadways are open now and fully connected. And so proposing that we change that classification. And those classifications tied to development standards and other purposes for transportation planning. So 3 changes, all of them are relatively minor compared to what you all were asked to vote on for the periodic update in 2024, but wanted to bring these before you so you're aware when we go through the adoption process.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Kristen? Wonderful. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Larmer. Next up, we have Parks, Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you so much, Madam President. We have Cindy Robinson here to talk about the Senior Center Lunch Program.
Good afternoon. As you mentioned, I'm Cindy Robinson. I'm the manager of the Kent Senior Center, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to present to you tonight about our upcoming changes requests for the lunch program. I'm requesting authorization from the council tonight for the mayor, Ralph, to be able to sign the new Senior Center lunch program contract with our new catering partners, Lavish Roots Catering. Before I get into the details of the provider and contract, I want to give you guys a little history on the lunch program. First, research consistently shows the 2 of the most significant challenges facing our aging population is food insecurity and social isolation. The Senior Activities Center addresses both of these through its long-standing lunch program and a wide range of activities that encourage participants to stay active, to socialize, to engage in both physical and mental activities. For some participants coming to the Senior Center, that is their only meal of the day. For others, it's a meal that they'll take home and spread out over multiple days to help themselves remain fed. So the Senior Center, it's very important that we continue this program. In addition to the lunch program, the center participates in multiple other food access for seniors, including the Meals on Wheels program, as well as our food pantry, which we put in place with VSHS levy funds. So, for more than 25 years, the Kent Senior Activity Center has offered a vibrant lunch program that promotes both nutrition and community connection. For many seniors, the center is their primary destination outside of their home. Prior to establishing the current model, the center participated in a broader congregate meal program that involved multiple other senior centers in the region. However, this program faced many persistent challenges, especially in quality of food. More than 2 decades ago, the city made the decision to operate and subsidize an independent meal program to ensure higher quality offerings. By participating with a local catering provider, the center built a successful program that has evolved over time. Until July of 2025, the Senior Center provided meals 5 days per week. However, in February of 2025, our former catering provider notified us that they would be discontinuing the service, citing financial considerations. They provided meals through the end of June. In response, our staff quickly implemented both short-term and long-term strategies to sustain the program. In the interim, a former chef came out of retirement to prepare meals for us 3 days a week, beginning in July. While this solution allowed us to continue to meet our VSHS levy requirements and to serve our community, it has proven to be highly labor-intensive for our full-time staff and has required significant involvement in diverting resources from other important programs and services. Fortunately, this was a short step until we could achieve our long-term goal. Staff initiated a formal request for proposal process to secure a long-term 5-day-a-week per week catering partner. This is the process that includes establishing clear service expectation, nutritional standards, budget parameters, broadly advertising this opportunity, evaluating proposals based on experience, quality, cost, and community commitment. The RFP was released in December of 2025 and 2 responses were received. Lavish Roots Catering emerged as the strongest candidate, offering a community-centered approach and a strong commitment to high-quality, nutritious meals. Lavish Roots is a local South King County company located in Burien and was founded in 2015. It is a certified women's business enterprise. Its founders met through South Seattle College's Culinary Arts program and have built a successful local business grounded in culinary excellency and community values. The company currently provides food service for a range of clients, including corporate dining meals for Meta and Dropbox. Under the proposed contract, Lavish Roots will provide 65 meals per day, 5 days a week, with the flexibility to add additional meals as needed, at a cost to the city of $11.50 per meal. The Senior Center will charge participants $10 per meal and will continue to offer additional reduced pricing through our scholarship program of Access to Senior Services for those who are unable to pay the full amount. That Access to Senior Services is supported through the VSHS funding. The city will subsidize $1.50 per each meal. We knew that we would see an increase in pricing from our previous provider, so during the 2026 mid-biennium process, the council authorized an increase of $50,000 for this exact need. And I want to just say thank you for that. The extra funding is what allows us to keep costs low for the seniors. The current $9 meal price has remained unchanged since the beginning of 2024. So this increase of $1 per meal to our seniors, this proposed increase reflects rising costs of food, ingredients, labor, and operations. We are deeply grateful for the city to have subsidized the lunch program since its inception. This longstanding support has been essential in keeping meals accessible and affordable to our community. Due to the urgency of the timing, this agenda item will be placed on consent calendar tonight, pending council's approval of the contract. Moving forward now will allow us sufficient time to market the new program, inform the participants of the price increase, as well as acquire additional volunteers to move from 3 days a week of service to 5 days a week of service. If the council approves the contract, we'll showcase Lavish Roots at our Armed Forces Luncheon on Friday, May 15th, one of our 4 meals annually sponsored by the Firefighter Foundation, and then we begin regular 5-day-a-week meal service on May 18th, so it's the following Monday. We will work closely with Lavish Roots to develop menus that are both flavorful and nutritious, and will actively seek feedback from our participants to ensure the meals are appealing and well received. Approval for this contract will restore the 5-day meal service, provide operational stability, and enhance program quality, and ensure the continued success of this vital service. Are there any questions?
Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Councilman. Do you know why the previous company, I think you said, decided not to continue on with the contract?
It was their overall costs were going up so dramatically that they didn't see us as a viable option to continue. We're rather small in compared to many of their other contracts.
And what was the previous contract cost, with the previous company compared to this cost here?
Like the overall, we were paying, I believe, right around $9 per meal, but they were, when they chose not to extend the future contract, they were suggesting a rather large cost increase for the upcoming year, much more than we were prepared to be able to.
Is it the same as this cost we're looking at here now, $200,000 for this new vendor?
It is very similar.
Very similar.
I think it might have actually been slightly higher, but I would have to go back and look at my notes.
And approximately, do you know how many senior participate in this year program for luncheon?
So let's see. We average between 50 and 70 per day.
Okay, thank you.
Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Sherrill. Thank you, Cindy. Good to see you.
to see you.
And thank you for bringing this contract forward. And great job on the presentation. You answered most of my questions. Just one more. Do they also consider, like, if there's dietary restrictions? I don't know how many seniors actually.
They are very much open to that, and even for our Armed Forces Day, they just dropped me an email adding that we want to provide a vegetarian option as well on that day. So they very much were seeking that out.
Thank you.
Councilmember Troutner. My question was asking. Okay. Councilmember Boyd.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Nice seeing you again. You said you offered the mobile Meals on Wheels? also?
We are one of the South King County's largest Meals on Wheels operations. We are second or third. We rotate with Renton for second or third place behind Seattle. But last year we did right around 36,000 meals.
On wheels, okay. And now, are the meals still the same price, $9, or is there an additional charge for the?
The mobile, those are we sponsor the program. People do not pay for those meals. Those are run out of a federal grant through King County. But so those are separate. But our meals will go to $10 instead of the $9.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, one follow-up.
Go ahead.
It is 5 days a week or 7 days a week?
This will be 5 days a week. We are currently doing 3 days a week.
Oh, okay, I think it's right here. My bad.
No problem.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Cindy. You did great. My question is, okay. So this is being mostly paid for by the levy.
No, it is mostly being paid for by the seniors participants.
Oh, okay. But we're putting in some money to help subsidize the
The
price.
subsidized program, we use some levy funds. We also use that for the food pantry, so that if people have other food needs, we can access that for them as well.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. Do you have any questions? Any other questions? All right, I will read the motion then. I move to authorize the mayor to sign the goods and services agreement with Lavish Roots Catering and Hospitality for the senior lunch program, subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the Parks Director and City Attorney.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Cindy, I forgot to ask if you could come back to us with any feedback that you get from the seniors.
Absolutely.
Like if you're hearing that this price is not acceptable or the food isn't great or anything like that, we'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. All right, back to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilmember Michaud. We have Public Works, Councilmember Troutner.
Thank you, Madam President. We have one item this evening that does not require action, and I'm very excited to hear where we are on the quiet zone. So welcome to Rob Brown.
Great. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, council members. Rob Brown, Transportation Engineering Manager of Public Works. I have some pretty good news, but I'm going to keep you in suspense for a little while. So this afternoon, we'll go over just a general overview of what quiet zones are and how they work. And then we'll go through the update for BNSF and also the Union Pacific. So some of our council members that have been around for a while have probably seen this and heard me talk about this many, many times, but just a quick overview of quiet zones. So we'll start with the map on the right side. These show the at-grade crossings in the city of Kent that we are working towards quiet zones. So on the left side, you can see the Union Pacific with their shield logos. There's 5 crossings in Kent. And on the right side, there, the BNSF, there are 8 crossings. So we're working towards quiet zones. Those are all the at-grade crossings in Kent. So our quiet zone only covers Kent. It doesn't cover Renton or Auburn, north or south of us. But these are the majority of the noise that we hear in the city actually come from these 13 crossings. So quiet zones, how are they established? So there's a federal law that goes specifically over what is required. It's very prescriptive. To send, to start this process, you do this, this, and this, mail this to this person, this person, this person, invite these people to this meeting. It is very prescriptive. But establishing a quiet zone is actually based on risk reduction. The Federal Railroad Administration has determined that, right on cue, train horn, has determined that trains sounding the horn at crossings have a certain amount of risk reduction versus no train horn. So if trains didn't blow their horns at all at a normal crossing, so sounding the horn, it will reduce risk by approximately 66.8%. To establish a quiet zone, we have to take the conglomerate or the addition of all the crossings in that quiet zone. They have a risk with the train horns, and we have to make modifications to the crossings to reduce the risk below what that is with the train horns. And again, very prescriptive. You create this median, you change this, extend this gate, you get this amount of risk reduction. So part of this is also what's called a diagnostic review, and this is a review with the subject matter experts from the city, the Federal Railroad Administration, all of the railroads that operate on that line. So for the BNSF line, that includes BNSF, Amtrak, and Sound Transit. It also includes the State Authority for Railroad Crossing Safety, so the Utilities and Transportation Commission for us. So go through this diagnostic review, talk about what each crossing needs to meet that requirement, and also any additional requirements that these subject matter experts as a group determine are needed. So in addition to the prescriptive things in the federal guidelines, it is also additional things, and that's usually things around pedestrian safety, sidewalks, those kind of things. Signing addition over and above the very specific things in the review. Following that is the crossing modifications, and that's where we go through the contract process or the construction process of building those modifications. So for the BNSF update, we'll go through the crossing modifications and then an FRA amendment that we are working on. So our initial plan with BNSF was to use the medians with the pylons. You can see in the picture on the upper left. This was Meeker Street. These are the pylons that Sound Transit installed when Kent Station was built. So this actually has a risk reduction factor, and with some work basically extending these to the crosswalks and some other little things, we could meet the risk reduction to get ourselves a quiet zone. In fact, we actually pursued this 2020-ish. We got approval from the FRA to establish this. However, after we got that, we found out that if one pylon was missing, the trains would start sounding their horns again. And it doesn't take much damage for one pylon to go missing. So change of direction. We decided that the concrete medians that we're showing in the lower right picture, those require very little maintenance. Basically, we paint those every couple of years. So there's very little risk of those becoming insufficient and the trains resounding their horns. However, these are expensive. And this is where in 2022, we get a legislative appropriation through the operating budget of $3 million to make safety and quiet zone crossing modifications. Luckily for us, BNSF was like, great, we want to participate. And we put together, we the city, and in cooperation with BNSF and the Utilities and Transportation Commission, put together a project and got it constructed in approximately 9 months that we had to spend those funds. And that's what you see out there today are these concrete medians painted yellow. However, with that median design, again, Federal Railroad Administration, very prescriptive. They required us to go through and submit an amendment to our approved petition. So we had approval for the pylons. These medians actually have more risk reduction, but to dot the i's and cross all the t's, we had to go through the amendment process. And that's where we're at now. We've submitted the FRA, the amendment to the FRA. We have heard, not officially, but through our contacts at the FRA, that it is through the technical review, but they have not sent us the letter yet. So we're waiting on that. However, good news, we've heard it's through the technical review, that it's just going through all their legal reviews, and then it gets their deputy administrator for railroad safety to sign it. However, the good news, as soon as we get that letter, we can establish a quiet zone 70 days after we receive the letter. So we have ordered all the signs, we have all the sign bases put in, everybody's ready. So we are looking forward to that, and believe me, I'm checking that mailbox every day looking for that letter from the FRA. So again, good news, just waiting for that letter to show up from the FRA. Union Pacific, similar process. We went through the diagnostic with Union Pacific. When the state funds became available, that $3 million from the legislature became available, Union Pacific, unfortunately, their engineering department was very busy and they weren't able to participate. They told us that it would take us longer to get through their engineering process to get somebody to help us with crossing modifications than we would have before the funding expired at the end of the legislative session. So, but we do know, unfortunately, the Union Pacific crossing modifications, even though there's only 5 crossings, we know that the costs to implement those will be somewhere in the several $1 million range. However, BNSF has 50 plus trains per day. UP has somewhere in the range of 6 to 8. So while we will still hear some train noise after the BNSF quiet zone, it will not be nearly what you hear today. So 6 to 8 trains. So, and with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Councilmember Shoker.
Thank you. So are there cities around us that have successfully implemented quiet zones?
There are cities that do have quiet zones. I don't think there are any close by. There aren't any in South King County. I think Bellingham has one. Marysville is working on one. Last time I checked, there were 13 cities around the state that had them, but nobody close to us.
And do they see like an increase or a decrease in accidents?
That's a good question I don't know the answer to. It is a little bit of work for us to get the crash data for our crossings. We can usually get that about 6 months after a crash happens. BNSF and Union Pacific, they have their own police forces that respond to those. So unless somebody from Kent PD happens to be there or close by when something happens, they respond. So we typically don't, we have to actually go look for that information. So unfortunately, I don't have that.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? I do have a question. So Rob, on the Union Pacific, is that something that we could go back later at another date, like 3-5 years from now, if the residents still feel like?
Great question. I apologize. I should have mentioned that. Our quiet zones are railroad specific, so we're not doing them as a combined group. They're separate. So BNSF is a separate quiet zone we're working on. UP is a separate effort. So absolutely, we can go back later and do it.
But at this point, we should only hear 6 to 8 trains a day?
Once we establish the BNSF, yes, UP is 6 to 8 trains per day.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Council President Corr. Thank you, Councilmember Chartner. Thank you, Rob. So with BNSF, are we anticipating by summer, hopefully we'll have it? We don't know.
10 weeks from when we get the letter.
Okay.
I've been emailing the people I know at the FRA. Hey, did you hear anything? Can you give us, is there some way we can speed
So
it?
anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, Councilmember Higgins would be very happy to hear the update on this, and I'm sure he's watching us, so he'll be very delighted, and I'm sure he has the same question. When is it happening? But
He's probably number 2 right after me of when can we find out.
yeah. No, I appreciate the update. Thank you so much. And I did have the question similar to Councilmember Shoker here about the accidents, because we do tend to have a lot of incidents that happen on our
We do. and
railroad tracks.
We've been in contact with Federal Railroad Administration, their regional crossing inspector. We're on a first name basis, as well as the crossing inspectors for the Utilities and Transportation Commission. We're working on some things. There are some grant opportunities. Part of the work that we did, especially with that legislative appropriation, we installed several hundred, actually over 1,000 feet of fencing, especially along First Avenue north of James Street, and then on BNSF here between the crossings as part of that project to cut down on the trespassing. And that's typically where those have been, is people that are crossing the tracks outside of our crossing. So we have done that. We are working on, again, there's grant opportunities. We're looking at what they call Operation Lifesaver signs, and so these are the ones that have the crisis hotline number on them, posting at the crossings. We've been talking to the Utilities and Transportation Commission about getting some of those. So we are aware of that and working on those things.
Yeah, unfortunately, signs, yeah. But anyways, thank you so much for the update.
Welcome.
All right, thank you, Rob, for being here. This started this conversation before I was on council, but we used to sit in the back of the room when Public Works met, and I remember that big map that had the railroads, and it had all of these lines that went across. It was very small print, and all of these dates, and it's so exciting to see us just that much closer. When we do have the quiet zone established, are we going to do some kind of a ribbon cutting or celebration or something where we can invite Councilmember Higgins, but we can let the community know? Because I know, especially in the Mill Creek area, we have a lot of people that are very excited for this as well.
I think that decision's up to somebody else, but even if it's just you and me out there, we'll do it, absolutely.
Absolutely, I am all in. Thank you very much for being here. Back to you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Trotner. Thank you, Rob, for the update. And with that, we are at the end of our meeting. We will meet at 5:15 for our council workshop. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Welcome to Kent City Council Workshop for Tuesday, April 21, 2026. We have one item on our agenda, and it's about rental housing inspection program. And we have Maureen here to give us the presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Wanted to take a moment and just kind of do a program overview and let you know all the impacts that we've been doing with the program since the start of the program. In 2019 was our first inspection year, so we are currently in our third rounds of inspections. The purpose of the program was to kind of really do outreach with the tenants because of the livability and the health and safety of their homes. They had some concerns. So the program was created and just also, prevent the deterioration of our housing stock that we have already limited in the city, right? So we are kind of a big picture program. So we are not code enforcement, but we work with them in tandem to help the tenants with their houses. So we go into 20% of the units. We've got 3 sectors in the city that we focus in. So right now, this year, we're in the Northeast Hill sector. And then we'll move to the West Hill and the Southeast Hill. When we are doing our inspections, we go from duplexes on up to the larger apartment communities. So no single families, no single unit owners or owner occupied units. And then with that, we go into 20% of the units, up to 50 units for the larger apartment communities. So they may have bigger, amounts, but we limit to 50. And that's because of the RCW that manages and oversees the program. So want to make sure. So we have currently 5 inspectors on our inspector list that go out and do the inspections based off of our city checklist. So there are 60 different items on the checklist that they go into each unit and kind of check it out, see what's going on, mark any deficiencies that are found during that inspection. They take photographs. They do a reporting system that we have called Brycer. Brycer is actually something that we do not have to pay for. It's paid through the inspector and the inspection, and then they upload all the photographs. They upload the different deficiencies. It creates a notice of deficiency that goes out to the property owner. They have 30 days to then comply, get all those repairs made, and work through the process. The rental housing inspection is tied to their business license. So if they are not compliant with the rental housing inspection program, their business license is placed on hold. So some of our commonly found deficiencies are, smoke detectors that have batteries missing, or maybe they're not in the bedrooms themselves, expired or missing fire extinguishers, lots of plumbing leaks or water damage causing mold, breathing concerns. I just had 2 separate families reach out to me today going, hey, I've had this exposure to plumbing leaks that my, landlord hasn't fixed yet. How do I get help? With water heaters, there's a lot of improperly installed water heaters, whether it's maintenance people not knowing all the codes and stuff like that. So when our inspectors go in, they make sure that they are installed correctly, that the walls around them haven't been damaged with the 1-hour fire protection that they're supposed to have, creating, when they've cut into holes because the plumbers don't know. General electrical issues. Egress issues with furniture for fire pathways to be able to get out during a fire. And then just general deck handrail, whether it's dilapidated, handrails aren't up to height requirements and stuff like that. There's numerous other things that we're finding, but those are typically the most common ones. So these photos are just kind of depicting what I just talked about. So on the left, you'll see open exposed wire electrical right under the kitchen sink. So I don't know about you, but I don't think water and electricity mix too well. So that's something that needs to be corrected. We also have a stove fire, and a lot of times those don't get reported. You know, sometimes it's not reported because the tenants don't want to go and be in trouble for something that they may have caused. So that's a safety repair for both the tenant and the landlord to keep it safe. Exposed electrical cord without, again, that's fire exposure for if something happens, or just general electricity, you know, being exposed. On the left there for this slide is the deck joist that actually holds up the deck itself, has completely deteriorated away from. The metal has just disintegrated, and if somebody went out on that, it would be really a terrible issue. We also have holes that are just kind of haphazardly covered with metal in this instant, but you know, that's water penetration to the siding of the building, causing mold concerns, allowing pests and, you know, animals into the area. They got very creative with a gutter install and fix right there, which does not allow for the proper drainage. So there's a lot of things that kind of come up just visually that we can see pretty quickly that have been ignored for usually quite some time. This is more kind of interior photos. A lot of it is going to be you know, mold or organic material because we don't test it, right? But the improper ventilation can cause a lot of issues. Leaks and everything can cause the drywall damage to come through with the insulation and everything. And tenants, unfortunately, aren't, you know, getting repairs done in a quick, mindful manner at some of the times. Some of it is the bathtub and everything can create the issues, or the bath fan down below that is just creates the problems with not being able to pull that moisture out of the air. The middle picture with the blue circle is an inoperable heater that we found recently. And these are all most recent photos that have come directly from within the last year. And then the bedroom picture is the bed is placed directly in front of the window, which is a huge safety matter for when a fire breaks out. You have to have quick, easy egress to get out of the building for your health and life safety. So some of it is tenant-based issues too that are creating it. Some of it is landlords not knowing, not taking care of the issues and everything. So it's kind of a mix of what we find. This particular picture is one that we went into, and the landlord didn't have any reason to be into the, you know, unit itself, and we found that they had an abundance of garbage that needed to be collected and taken care of, so it doesn't attract the pests and rodents and, you know, create any other issues as far as the concerns go. So we've found people that have been sleeping in their garages, in sheds. Landlords didn't know. And so they're using it as like a extra bedroom kind of scenario. And so there's a lot of things that just kind of come up naturally within the program that we're finding and helping and getting corrected. So our first inspection, like I mentioned, was in 2019. When we started, the property count for the Northeast Hill sector was at 64 properties that we identified. When we've moved into the second round of inspection, we captured 119 different properties. So that's a growth of 86%. So I have stayed way busy from where we thought we were going to be, and the program growth has been great. West Hill started out at 68 properties, and now we're at 88 properties, which is 30% growth. And then, so our division line is at James Street Hill. So anything north of James, is the Northeast Hill. South would be Southeast Hill. The Southeast Hill, we knew was going to be a big hill or big sector because of Kent Kangley, right? We've identified even more than we initially thought, and so that's a growth of 16% up to 177. So we have identified from the first round of inspections to now over 100 additional properties that we didn't initially know about.
And is that just you've identified them, or they've been like added or built?
We've added them, yes. So we've added, so a lot of it is, I came into this position December 2021. So starting in 2022 and kind of getting my feet under, but 2023, I've been understanding what's going on, where it is, getting more information base and working with Dan Blinko, who is our GIS specialist, to, he is an expert with grabbing the data from King County parcel records. And so I'm doing the education and the outreach to the property owners to be able to get them to kind of work through the progress and everything. So overall in the city of Kent right now, we currently have 16,429 rental units. So it's a lot. It's a big job, and it's me. Yes, absolutely.
So what do you have those 384? Is that units or?
Those are properties.
Properties.
Yes. So the units are the 16,400.
That's what we have completed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have, in the program, we have identified 384 properties.
Yeah.
And then 16,429 total units. We inspect 20% of that each cycle. Yeah. So it's about 3,300 of that. So.
Yeah, because I mean, looking at just the properties, it doesn't seem like a lot, but then.
But when you start breaking it down, so Northeast Hill has about 4,000 units in it alone. The West Hill has a lot of larger communities, and so they have 6,700 properties up there, or units, excuse me, not properties, but units. And then the Southeast Hill has 5,700 units there. So it's definitely spread out and diverse, but it's a lot of touch points because I have to talk to the community managers, I have to talk to the property owners, I have tenants that are reaching out and everything. So it is quite a busy rounds of communication and education all the way through. So we have identified over the course of the program thousands upon thousands of health and safety repairs and had them corrected. As I mentioned, I have lots of tenants that reach out to me because they hear rental housing inspection. So I'm not code enforcement, so that individual unit, I'm not the one that's going to be like, hey, this is going to be corrected. But it's really important to me to go, hey, I'm not the person, but let me get you connected to code enforcement, right? I do the big picture. I do the overseeing the whole rental housing when it's time for that property to do it. The individuals come to me, I help them get connected with code enforcement, I help them with tenant resources and reaching out. Who do I go to? I'm so lost. I had a gal today, she's like, my house is completely destroyed, I can't afford to move, how do I get out of this? My walls are opened up, I'm having to do a rental, pack up with all my stuff in a storage area, and I'm overwhelmed, my landlord is not helping. And to me, I think it's very important when they're calling in to be able to go, hey, here's where you go, because it's overwhelming and it's just, they don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. So I give them very pointed points of places to reach out to and work through. The eviction and legal help is another thing that we have a lot of calls about, and just like I said, the general code violation reporting. So it's a big job. It's not just working with the landlords and kind of pushing the reports through. It's a lot of kind of social work, kind of outreach with it as well, and helping people. One of our positive outcomes, you guys have all familiar with Phoenix Court. With that, my program was able to go in and do a full 100% inspection on the property, which is our first time that we've done in our scenario. It was a big job. I had not hundreds, but a lot of hours put into that, with coordinating with the property, coordinating with the inspector, making sure the report was accurate and easily followed to get everything corrected and worked up, and they were able to get compliant with our program eventually and work through. It was also through that we identified that they didn't have a business license and everything, and so that was something that we worked on. So as I mentioned, the business license is part of the compliance piece of the program. So it is with our compliance portion. If you're not compliant with our program, you can't get your business license. That's if you're actually getting your business license, right? So we've been working really hard with our friends up in finance to educate the landlords and make sure that they are progressing with, yes, it is an annual business license. Yes, you are required of it if you have 2 or more rental units. And my position is funded based off of the support from the fees that are captured from the specific rental housing inspection fees. So you'll see over here in 2022, we were capturing about $94,000 worth of fees. As I progressed and did more education, finding ways to work with finance, and in 2025, last year, we actually added it to our rental housing inspection checklist, where if you didn't have your business license posted as required by the Kent City Code, you had to make sure that it was taken care of before you reached your compliance of your rental housing. And in 2025, we captured $164,638 worth of rental housing specific fees.
Have you gone back to Phoenix Court since we just to do a double check?
Yes, we had several inspections, not just with our inspections, but with the building inspectors go out, and my friends in PD have also kind of kept close eyes and everything. So they're operating under Alba Gardens now. They've done a kind of a refresh of the situation and working towards some new property management is what I'm hearing as well. So.
Maureen, are these fees part of the business license?
Yes. So there's a business license fee, and then there's a rental housing inspection program fee that is $13 per unit for the businesses, the rental units. So for somebody that's a duplex, it's just an additional $26 for your rental business license on top of it. For the larger apartment communities, it obviously is a little bit more of an impact for them. But they also bring in more rental income, so. So challenges, like I said, when we identified our kind of outreach, we were kind of thinking it was going to be one level of outreach, and now we've got 100 additional properties that I'm reaching out to and working with. And the middle housing that's coming through, that's created, has the potential to grow the program even further, because anybody on the best line can have 6 or more units now placed on that parcel, right? So that has those can eventually fall under RHIP. Currently, it's if you have been built within the last 4 years, you get to not do the RHIP inspection unless there's been code enforcement complaints about your property. So it's not going to be an immediate impact, but it's definitely something to keep in mind that is coming down the pike. Owners and landlords have definitely been a challenge. It's been not only with COVID, with the general changes to landlord and tenant rights and eviction moratorium impacting their finances. They're frustrated, like, I've already had this issue and now you guys are making me do this. So it's a lot of negotiation that I have to do. It's a lot of work sometimes with the people that don't want to participate in the program and don't feel that they should have to do this. Even the ones that are a great landlord, you know, they're like, I keep my property great. Why do I have to do this? I haven't had any complaints. And so it's just those general conversations that I have to kind of work through and make sure that, okay, you know, yes, you do. Yes, I understand. It can be an easy process, you know, let's work it through. We also have a lot of properties that are sold or property management changes. So I have to start the process all over again with new owners or property managers, and they like, I had no idea this was, you know, not going on. As far as the other challenges, it's just limited staffing. It's just me. I don't have any admin support right now. I have a great management team that supports me, but it is just a one-man band that goes on, right? So it's a lot of plates to keep spinning and keep moving forward. So every cycle, the inspection kind of cycle starts in March, and it has to be kind of wrapped up by the end of November. So it's a lot of things going on from December through March, or, you know, February really is those, I'm trying to get those last minute players to play with us and work through it. While I wish I could be at 100% compliance all the time, it's not really feasible with how I have to proceed and go to the next cycle and work through. So we still have about 10% properties from 2023 that never got fully compliant. We have 17 properties on the West Hill that are not compliant yet. And then as far as the Southeast Hill that we just finished last year, we're at 34 properties, which seems higher when you look at that. It's 177 properties overall, but I actually have 20 of those 34 that were in some part of the process, working through the procedure, whether they've had their inspection, they know they're working on it, they drug their feet and haven't done it. So I'm still actively trying to capture all those people while working with the current sector and getting them started with it as well. So kind of a big task to keep everything going.
How do you see yourself staying ahead? Because we're looking at 2023, 2024, 25, 10, 19, 19%. I imagine 2026 probably going to be up in that 19%. I mean, so some of those cases just never get closed, pretty much?
Some were, so funny that you asked that, because looking forward is we would like to do some code updates. We haven't really done any code updates since the initial start of the program. So we've got some general housekeeping that needs to happen. We also have to put in there the mill housing, you know, kind of stuff. But we would like to change the non-compliance procedure portion of it. Right now, the only kind of teeth of the program is through the business license. And when we started the program, the finance team was like, yes, we can do the enforcement for you. And that just really hasn't been the case. So we would like to introduce a little bit more of our portion and taking the accepting the compliance portion of it, so we can get people, whether that's kind of fees and impacts of, hey, you're not compliant by this date, it starts now, and working with the legal group from that. So that is a goal of mine, to be able to kind of work through those problem properties to be able to do that.
Your second bullet.
Yes, sir.
Increase from what to what? You say from 13 per unit?
Yes.
To?
We haven't solidified what exactly. There's definitely wiggle room. We are on the low end of the spectrum in the other local cities that have it. Some of them do a flat fee, some of them do up to like $20 a unit. And so there's definitely flexibility. We're not trying to make it difficult on anybody. We obviously want people to work with us and work through it. But the addition of staff for the administrative support for the compliance to write the legal letters and keep following up and everything, we need a little bit more in the budget to kind of support that. And so that's where we will kind of start looking at things and working towards it to help support the
I don't have a solution. I strongly believe that this is a great program. I remember when we implemented You know, and I just thinking about people that stays in these complexes, and and I did share some stuff with Matt and Kurt about a month ago. A person brought me pictures
Yeah.
of their unit, and I just find it hard to believe that people can live like that.
Yes.
You know, and I just it's
So you got them there, the pictures, they got them to me. I reached out to them with the tenant resources. That's how it trickles down.
Okay.
And then I made sure that code enforcement was working with them as well.
so are they working with that particular one?
Yes, yeah,
You saw the pictures?
yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
my day in, day out kind of scenario. That's what I'm seeing all the time. So that's why it's so important to have this program and to be able to have the support that we need for our residents here in the city. So, for sure. Yes.
First of all, I think this is really important information. I appreciate you being here.
Yes.
You know, we talk about the landlord's responsibility, but you showed a few things that were more of tenant issues. How do we communicate with landlords to make sure they're doing those inspections? Because that also takes time, and putting that in motion to be able to say, hey, I'm going to come inspect your place on this date. And I don't think, obviously, that happens very much. How do you instill in landlords what they need to do to make sure the tenants are taking care of their space as well?
So there's not a ton that we can do the enforcement piece of that because it's essentially, it is their property. So they have to take the initiative on it. However, we help them with like, how do I get it? What do I do? So I share our checklist a lot. And as the program has kind of happened, landlords are understanding what we're looking for, what's going on. And so they're kind of preemptively working on things already. So we maybe only saw 20% of it, but they got called out for not having smoke detectors in any of the bedrooms. And so they go through and order it for the entire property, right? So it's naturally kind of creating that to-do list already. Unfortunately, a lot of times they do kind of wait for that issue to arise before it happens. So, yeah.
I know for me, when you think about landlord, I mean, you have the little onesie twosie that own maybe one or three houses. I mean, I get that, but I'm talking about a systemic issues from the big apartments. Those are one that I see is really just taking advantage of the tenants,
Right.
not the landlord that own 3 apartments or something like that.
And so that's when we go in, you know, those larger ones, we're going into 50 units at a time when we go in there and really kind of make that impact. And I will say, you know, when we started, we were finding more, and it's getting less as we're going. We still find things, right? Just over time, things deteriorate or things come up and everything. But it's definitely shown that it's made a positive impact on the homes.
Actually, on that note, I was curious, do you know, like, where you started, you were seeing what % had problems versus what % have problems today?
So it's really hard to capture exact figures because when the inspectors do the reporting system only captures like one deficiency for the water heaters, but it could have 27 units that had water heaters, but it only registers one. So it's hard to really be able to solidify those exact numbers and everything. So yeah, I wish I could.
So Maureen, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So it's the landlord's responsibility to hire their inspector?
Yes, so we have an approved list that they can choose from, so.
And so the landlord or the owner pays for the inspection then, right? Mm-hmm. Plus the work that has to be done?
Yes.
And plus the re-inspection?
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
It can be, but if, it's not always. So some of it is just a couple $100s for the inspection. They're individually owned and operated inspectors, so they charge their own separate fees that's separate from the city. But most of the time, it is not a huge impact, but we have had other larger apartment communities that have had quite a bit of repair that they had been not taken care of for quite some time, and so it was a bigger impact. But for the general landlord, it is not a huge impact.
So what happens if a landlord or owner is not in compliance with the RHIP? I mean, how long, or better yet, does a tenant have to abide to by paying rent or paying lease if he knows that his landlord is not abiding to this list? I mean, what are the repercussions behind this?
So there,
Because say that the tenant knows that there's a defect in his apartment, but the landlord or the owner is not attending to it. And then come to find out the landlord is not on this list with the city, the CHIP.
we've had a couple of, like, the Solid Ground or the Northwest Justice Project reach out to us with legal support of tenants and asking if people are compliant or not. So we've been able to assist in kind of that support. We do have a fund within our budget that something is just horrendously wrong, that there's money that we could, use for emergency situation to move them out. We have not had to have that fund utilized since the inception of the program, because we have been able to work through or allow them to move into a different unit and stuff like that. So we're working with them to find a better, safe conditions for them. As far as the compliance right now, it is a fine for not having your business license. So it is $100 a day for the first 10 days of not having your license, and then up to $400 a day after that. So it can get quite pricey if they're not complying with the program. So it's been a little bit harder to kind of work that legal process and everything, and so that's why I want to make sure that we get it into our house to be able to work for and make sure that we are getting more compliance and less kind of holdouts. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Show, followed by Councilmember Show.
Yeah. Thank you for this presentation. I did not know about this program, so it's good to hear that we're having this so that we can, support the health and safety of our tenants. So you might have already gone through this, but I don't think I captured it. How do you identify which properties to work with?
So we utilize the King County parcel system and capture duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and apartment communities. And so our GIS expert goes through and captures all the data, and then he and I go through it to make sure that it's hitting all the points and that we have all the most up-to-date information each cycle that we're going through. So.
Is it like a priority list of like which ones you think need it, or is it just random?
No, so we're, let me go back to the sectors at the beginning here. One too far. So right now I am currently working in the Northeast Hill. So I have the properties over there that we have captured in those parameters from 167 and James Street in that to Renton to the outskirts of Kent and Maple Valley. So we have those particular ones that I'm working with right now. So every month I'm sending out letters and going, hey, your time is right now to get your cycle or your inspection done during this inspection cycle. So
they have to like buy into it?
So they have to buy into it?
Like they have to say like, yes, come inspect.
Well, yes, but they're going to get not pestered. They're going to be encouraged greatly to work with us. And we're receiving good feedback from them. Most of the people want to do right and do it and follow through. Some are a little slower to follow, get it going than others. Some of them are like, oh my goodness, I want to take care of this right away. So it's kind of a progress. It's kind of that education component of like, what is this? Why am I getting this? I'm new to this. I didn't know I was required. And so there's a lot of working through it. And so a lot of communication, a lot of just general education with everybody. So
yeah, I can definitely see I can see that happening. So
yes.
Thank you for.
Yeah, so right now, like I said, I'm just kind of working in that chunk, and then I'll move on to the West Hill and I'll focus on that area for that time. And so when I have the free time, I'm kind of circling back to the people that kind of, their plates are spinning a little slower and being like, hey, remember that? We had this deadline. Where are we at? How are you doing? And my goal is always to get compliance, right? I'm not trying to make it hard on anybody. I want you to work with us because I want the tenants to have their places, healthy and clean. So.
Thank you.
Does that clarify better?
Yes, it
Okay,
does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate it. We can see by these photos that this is a really important program. It's disturbing how some people are having to live. So I definitely support this program. So the fees that we charge, is the program self-sustaining, I guess is what I'm asking.
It is currently. So right now, the fees let me go back to that slide. More. So last year, we brought in $164,638. As you can see, it wasn't fully self-sustaining at the beginning. Right now, the only thing that it's capturing are the cost of my position. So right now, that covers my cost and benefits and then a little bit. So when we go to increase, we're not shooting for the moon, we're not trying to make it out, but we do need a little bit more to balance that administrative kind of support and everything that we want for the compliance piece of it.
Yeah, and I definitely support both of those, the increase of the fees so that we can get you some support, and then also having more significant consequences. And if you can have eyes on that, I think that would help. So I would support that. Thank you.
Councilmember Larmer.
Yeah, Maureen, I'm curious, do you ever hear from renters in single-family homes
I do occasionally. It's more kind of short-term rentals that kind of flare more than the single-family, but it does happen for sure. It's not a huge influx. Other cities do have the single-family, but it's kind of pick and choose on the area of who has single-family home rentals. Those would be harder to capture for my informational gathering, because right now we assume that if you have a duplex on up to the larger, that it's a rental property because there's more than one unit. Single family homes, we would have to rely on the tenants reporting or the landlord actually, disclosing the fact. Right now, single-family home landlords do not require a business license. It's just for the duplexes on up. So that's another thing that we wouldn't know.
I just look at some of this and I worry about
But
conditions that are
yes,
like this.
it's not as frequent as the apartment communities, for sure.
Is it maybe a way to look at if an individual owns multiple homes in a city?
Or if the owner is an LLP.
Yeah, so I think that might be another.
Yeah, I do a lot of digging in that LLC, and it's hard because if they're not updating their tax record addresses or their LLC addresses, I get kind of stuck, right? Because I get return notices or letters that I'm sending out, and so I have to really kind of super sleuth and find the other ways to get a hold of people, and it's a challenge. So it would definitely be even more challenging with that single kind of unit. So
I know like my HOA requires, if there's a rental properties in our HOA, they're required to report it to our HOA.
Right.
So
there's not a general database with the HOAs that I could reach out to go, hey, and so it's.
Yeah, just kind of something to look into, because I do see a lot of single family homes, Thank you, Maureen, for your presentation. And I want to give a shout out to former Councilmember Fincher, who was very instrumental in supporting this program, and I've been very supportive of this program from the beginning. So, and I am looking forward to what we come up with to actually have some type of non-compliance, something, is there a fine or is there something else we can do to get some of those non-compliance rental units up to standards, I think, because there's a health and safety, issue for our community members. So, and I think Matt has something to contribute.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to add a little bit of historical perspective because a few of us that are here tonight were part of the creation of the program. As far as the $13 fee, that was designed to support one staff position. We were trying to be very conservative with the program so that it had the minimal impact on landlords as possible at the time for and we thought one staff person would be sufficient for the number of rental properties that we thought we would be dealing with. Well, obviously, that number has grown. And now with the advent of middle housing, we're expecting to see more qualifying properties. So I think it's time for a reevaluation. And as Maureen has enlightened us with tonight, it's a lot more work than we thought. And adding enforcement responsibilities really increases the amount of time necessary. So we could use another body. And looking at the surrounding jurisdictions' fees, like Maureen said, there's plenty of headspace. We're pretty low. And I think if we pulled that fee up and we're able to add at least one more person, maybe an administrative support staff, it would help a lot. So we'll be coming back with a proposal to that effect, though, later in the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, I really appreciate your presentation and all the work you put into this. So thank you, because I think the other piece I want to kind of bring up, or maybe is education piece, not just for the tenants, but also for like our community members, on what some of the safety issues or concerns could be, because I think we are a very diverse city, and a lot of our community members don't realize what are actually safe living standards, or they don't understand. So I think there's a educational piece there. I don't know how to even put that in words, but something to look into. Like, we need to do something about that as outreach.
Summit or something.
Yeah. So like our community members understand, like, this is where your trash belongs, and this is, your water or mold is growing if you don't have proper ventilation, or, are turning on your fans, or, that type of stuff. Just some things we learn over time, and then community members don't realize. So I think those are just.
Well, I was going to say, I know that when former Councilmember Fincher and I were looking at some of the renter, the tenant issues, and talking to the property managers, there was an opportunity to perhaps require some information be given at the time of signing leases.
We did talk about that. I don't know if that's happening though. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's been an education for tenants in general, just because they're like, what did I do wrong? Why am I getting inspected? And so I was like, no, we are here to help support you. We want to make sure that your, home is safe, and it's nothing you did. And so that has been we did a huge outreach when the initially started, to kind of capture that idea and do the education about the program and what it is and everything. So that was something that we mindfully did as we were initiating the program, and it's becoming more familiar, and people are understanding that, it's a good thing for sure, and I'm not in trouble. No, you're not in trouble, I promise. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. With that, thank you so much.
Thank you for your guys' time.
And
appreciate you.
Have a good night. We are adjourned until 7 o'clock for council meeting.